Welcome back to the Malted Man Cave. We're doing review number 2 in the Hilton Head. Here with my cousins. We lost one. Tim got a call from his beloved wife, so he will not be joining us for this review. But we have another amazing whiskey for you. Thank you to John, which I'm actually going to let him introduce it and say a little bit about it since it's his and we're mooching off of him.
So this is the Kilkerran 12-year-old. Kilkerran is a Campbelltown distillery. They are owned, of course, if you know Scotch and you're a fan of single malt Scotch, you think of Campbelltown whiskey, you probably think of Springbank primarily. They're the most well-known Campbelltown distillery still remaining. There are a couple others, and one of them is Kilkerran, which is also actually owned by the same owners of Springbank. That sounds right, yes. So they are a newer distillery. They haven't been around terribly long. This is their first 12-year-old that they've released. And I believe, correct me if I'm wrong if you know differently, but I believe this is the oldest whiskey they've released so far. They've been releasing whiskeys in small quantities at varying ages for the last several years. They've released some like 7-year-olds, 8-year-olds,
10-year-olds. I think this is the first.
Yeah, this was the first 12-year-old. It is, if not entirely bourbon barrel matured, mostly bourbon barrel matured.
It was 70% bourbon, 30% sherry. It was like the reverse
of
what the Springbank 12 cask strength was, which is 70 sherry, 30 bourbon.
I've heard that too. I haven't. I don't know for sure if that's true, but that seems possible.
The cake profile makes me think that.
Yeah, but definitely the bourbon maturation is a little more prominent, and you can tell by the color. I don't know how well you can see that, but it definitely looks more bourbon barrel matured. It is. Well, I'm sure it's natural color. Springbank's stuff is always natural color, so I assume that Kilkerran's is too. It is bottled at 46% ABV, and again, I assume it's non-chill filtered. I don't know if it actually says that on here though, which is kind of odd.
I wonder if it does on the tin.
It might on the tin, yeah.
We're being a little bit more.
I've got the tin right here actually.
Let's see.
So I picked up this. I've been trying to find this whiskey for quite some time. I live in Nashville, Tennessee, and my understanding is it's actually about to hit the market in Nashville. It hasn't yet, but some of my local whiskey guys have been telling me that they're about to get it. But I still hadn't been able to find it in Nashville before we came here to Hilton Head. But on my way down here, I stopped off at some stores in Atlanta, and I managed to find this in the last stop I made, and was very excited and decided very generously to share this with Keith.
Yes, you did, and I appreciate it very much.
And okay, yes, actually, the label here on the box does say non-chill filtered and no color added.
You said this is at 46% ABV.
46% ABV.
They do all right. All the boxes are checked. Anything else you want to say? Isn't the actual name of the distillery Glen Guile, but for whatever reason they name it Kilkerran?
You are correct, and it does also say that in the back of the bottle here. Much like, I guess, Springbank has, well, they bottle stuff as Springbank, and then they also bottle as Longgrow and
Hazelburn.
Yeah, Hazelburn.
Yep. So these reviews, we did one on the Brook Laddie Octomore, and we're doing this. These are a little bit more informal than my normal reviews are, just because we're hanging out with family. We don't really have the ideal setup. Not that mine is perfect in the pit of despair down in the Malted Man Cave. But we just wanted to enjoy some whiskey, drink together with family, and so yeah. So without further ado, enough blabbering. You want to get into some whiskey?
Oh yeah.
You want to tee us off?
Sure. So on the nose, to me, actually, my first thought on this nose is it reminds me of Japanese single malt whiskey. Specifically, it's reminiscent to me of the Akashu 12-year-old, I think. In that I get a little bit of notes of green tea and some green fruits like green apples, pears. Yeah, I mean, it's almost like, to me, it's almost like walking through an orchard.
Yeah. It's like light fruit, like orchard
a lot
fruits.
of light orchard fruits. Yeah, like I said, green apples and pears is what I get a lot of. There's, almost a suggestion of peat smoke, and there is.
That might be the cigar.
No, I'm pretty sure I can tell the difference between peat smoke and a cigar, but not much at all. I believe this is only very lightly peated, from what I understand. There's certainly a little bit of caramel there, vanilla, and now I'm getting a healthy dose of cigar smoke. We've been drinking this whiskey a good amount this week. I mean, it's not like it's terribly empty, but we've been drinking.
Because I've only had like 2 or 3 small grams of that. You been getting into it?
Whatever. We've all been getting
I've only
into
had 2
it.
grams of it. I don't know what you're talking about.
You know, one thing we should mention is this is a very affordable whiskey.
Yeah.
So the last review we did was Octomore, which is
just not
very expensive.
not an affordable whiskey.
And the reason why I've waited so long to try Octomore was because of the price tag, and we decided to pitch in a few bucks together to get that bottle because of the price tag. Although now I badly want another bottle because I think we probably drank half of it by now. This was only like $55, I think is what I paid for this, which is a bargain. I mean, this, if you can find this, we haven't finished the review yet, but I'm already going to say this. If you can find this and it's like $60,
get it.
which is what it should be,
buy like 5.
then holy cow, grab it because it's
better yet. Don't buy anything and leave it for us.
Yes.
Anything else you got on the nose?
A little bit of like grassiness, like a freshly mowed lawn.
Okay, some herbal vegetable.
Herbal vegetable, is that what you said?
Herbal vegetable notes, yeah.
Yeah, I can see that. Yeah. Yeah, it's a little more grassy to me than herbal, but I could see that. Yeah. There's definitely some herbal notes there. A little bit, not quite floral. Yeah, it's more that grassy herbal. It almost smells like unsmoked marijuana.
What?
You know what? Like hemp almost.
Yeah.
I can smell hemp.
Maybe some like hemp rope.
Not that I know what that smells
Hemp
like.
rope. Yeah,
Never
weird
smelled
smell.
it.
Yeah, never.
Ain't no THC in that.
I get lemon oil, almonds. It's pretty nutty.
There's definitely a lot of lemon in there.
Yeah.
You said that, and it's like, oh man, there's lemon for sure.
Marzipan. Yeah, another thing, all these reviews that we're doing, I think we're going to do a couple more. We haven't really done any tasting notes. This is all by the seat of our pants.
Mm-hmm.
So they may not be as good as usual, and we're not doing as many research on the distilleries, so we come with all these fun facts. So very rudimentary reviews, but we're going to have fun. So like I said, almonds, lemon oil, marzipan, really like, and almost like sugar cookies with icing on it, like a real sweet kind of vanilla and sugar cookies you get from the bourbon influence. And a little bit of those, like kind of the herbal, more hemp rope.
Mm-hmm.
There's something drying to it too. Like right at the hemp rope kind of clicked for me.
Yeah.
The peaches and pears. Green apple, for sure, like you said. It's really good nose. What do you get on the nose? By the way, quick shout out to Free Will Brewing Company. He's the plant manager, bigwig. Do you get to do like nosing and tastings, or when you guys are trying new recipes, do you get to go in and smell?
Oh, absolutely. I taste, sample, quality control, a lot of things. Many of us do there, actually. It's something that almost every employee at some aspect of the process is tasting, sampling, in small doses, quality control.
That's awesome.
Different parts of the process, it does need to, you sample, you taste for quality control measures, make sure every part of that process is going the way it could and should. There's the science to it, which is, the readings we take on it every day, but then there's also, the actual mouthfeel of it, what's in that. You know, our palate's the last line of defense. The science can tell us so much, and you can get there through the science, but it all comes down to what your palate says in the end.
I thought so, because in the Octomore you actually came up with some pretty good notes. I'm like, you must. I wondered if you did that. It sounds like you had, like you've done that before, like tastings and nosings, which obviously you have.
I just pretend to do a lot. You fake it till you make
Really,
it
you
right.
just drink beer and just take the paycheck.
The key to
Well,
success in life is pretending like you know what you're talking about.
And delegating duties.
Yes, indeed.
A good leader delegates, right? Or both.
A great leader doesn't need to delegate.
Touche. Alright, what do you got on the nose?
I definitely get some lemons. Like I'm surrounded by them. They waft in. I almost feel like I got a cut inside my nose, and that lemon juice just hit it. It just tingles a little bit, but not in a horrible way. Almost in a teasing way. And it almost feels like I'm in a photo shop, or I got some lavender trying to want to be in there, but it ain't there. But it's like, hey, but nah. The second it appears, the second it disappears. Definitely a creamy aspect to it.
Yeah, for sure. Even on the nose. I think it's even creamier in the palate.
Almost like a sweet cream that you can't almost think it's going to taste as good as it smells. That's yet to be decided.
So onto the palate.
Onto the palate.
It is.
It's good stuff.
It is sweet. I tell you what, that sweet creamy taste. There's nose actually follows through in the right to the palate. That's it. That is smooth.
Mm-hmm.
That's smoother than the Alchemist.
Yeah.
It is
Doesn't have that
very, it is
pepper
very,
kick.
very lightly peated as well. It's barely there. It's just there enough you can taste it, but barely.
I wonder if it just seems so much smoother because we just had the Octomore with all that.
I was about to say it could be because of that too.
Well, it's lower ABV.
Yeah.
And it's certain. As much as Octomore is amazing for how powerful the ABV is and the peat level is, it still doesn't completely overwhelm you like the way you think it might. It's still, compared to this, it is kind of overwhelming. Like if you sat down and tasted this with the Octomore, it would be like, whoa, Octomore. Kilkerran, much gentler.
Go. On the palate, again, I get just hardcore lemon oil with a little bit of orange. So I still think there's some sherry influence in this. Because I'm getting some oranges, which is normally indicative of some sherry influence. Could be wrong. So definitely lemon oil, a little bit of oranges. Again, like you said, it goes into the palate, same from that was in the nose. Pears, a little bit of peach, green apple. Like almond marzipan, some kind of like confection candy that they make out of almonds and marzipan, and just like sugary goodness. Again, just a little bit of malted like barley sugar.
Yeah.
Great stuff, man. This stuff
That's surprisingly sweeter than I thought it would be.
so good.
Even with
Yeah,
the
it is.
sweet nose it has. I really did not think it would be that sweet.
Yeah.
It really is quite sweet. in a bourbony way, sort of. I'm really not convinced that there's sherry in here. I agree there's orange. I get orange marmalade for sure. But I don't get many other.
I mean, it's
typical
not-
I don't get many other typical sherry.
Yeah, it's
notes.
not that. If there is any sherry influence, it's not much,
Yeah.
and there may not be any. We're just conjecturing right now.
You are.
One of the things
That's fair.
that Dave said on the nose was sweet cream, and I really get that on the palate. I was
really,
taking a sip when he said that on the nose, and I was like, yeah, that's
there's,
on the palate.
there's some sweet cream in
There's
that.
definitely some sweet cream, lemon candy.
It's like cream corn,
Yeah.
like Grandma May used to make.
Mm-hmm.
A little bit
Remember that stuff?
Mm-hmm.
Grandma used to make.
I mean, it's sweet, but it's not too sweet, which is obviously what you want, what I want in a whiskey. It's certainly not the sweetest whiskey I've ever had, but it is more sweet than I probably expected it to be.
Yeah.
I don't think that this is as peated as normal Springbank is, which
This
I think
is- this seems
I
more
think
like
ppm is
yeah,
lower.
This seems like more
it
10 to
comes
15.
out more in the end too. It's not even there in the beginning. It comes out at the end in the back note, and it kind of lingers in a pleasant way.
Yeah.
But it's not much at all. But it's well after the initial.
I feel like Highland Park is normally around 20 ppms. This seems more like anywhere from 10 to 20 to 15 ppm levels.
This is
if at
like,
all.
I know a lot of people like Highland Park. I do not. I think
He-
12-year.
He hasn't had the 18.
I haven't had the
year.
18
He
year.
hasn't had the 18.
I have an
year.
18 year because I hate the 12-year-old and I hate Dark Origins.
The
Which
18 is so good though. You have to have the 18
you
before you
can't
knock
make a
it.
good 12-year-old. Why should I pay for your 18-year-old?
It's so good.
Whatever.
You have to try it.
I'd like to try it, but I'm not.
I'm gonna buy it and I'll send you a sample.
Okay, you do that.
Because it is getting way overpriced now. too.
Anyway, I feel like this is what Highland Park dreams of being if it were actually good.
Blasphemy. Just the utter blasphemy. I agree. The 12 is just okay. And some of these all these gimmicky, limited releases, Vikings, are getting a little crazy. As much as.
Yeah. I
but-
bought a bottle of the Dark Origins recently because I know it's being discontinued and I thought, well, I should try this whiskey. A lot of people like it. I hate it. It's gross. It tastes like
I haven't had it
fake.
yet.
It tastes. I'm going to be reviewing it on my website, which is meadmule.com, meademule.com. Check it out. I will be posting a review of that within the next week or two. And I can tell you right now, it's not going to get a good score. It's going to get
Don't hold on to your
the
base.
second lowest score I've ever given.
Wow.
I gave the lowest score I ever gave in my last review last week. I gave something
What was it?
a 70 out of 100.
Oh my.
It was Glenn Tucker's 16-year-old bottle by Gordon MacPhail, and it's
16-year-old
not
is
very
that
good.
bad? Wow.
ages and everything. Sometimes it didn't taste like it was 16.
We know that because the Octomore, only 5 years old.
It was-
dang. Was
Yeah,
that good
what?
whiskey.
Well, that particular,
Oh my
that Glen
God.
Tucker's, every time I poured a glass, I could only drink a few sips and pour the rest down the drain. I just couldn't. So giving it a 70 was kind of generous,
Yeah.
in my opinion, because I couldn't finish a single glass of it.
I felt like that with the Dalmore 12 the first time I had it.
Hmm.
It's gotten better as it's gone down in the bottle, but yeah, I was gonna give it like a 74 out of 100 when I first tried it. It was that bad.
Oh,
we got a little-
one other, before you get in there, I agree with the marzipan. There's definitely marzipan on the palate. And
Which is
just like
kind of
almond
another-
extract, and that really lingers into the finish for me. Is that marzipan, almond extract type of sweetness. Just like a nice, gentle, nutty, almondy sweetness, which is quite nice.
So I'm gonna start us off with the finish, which for me the finish is actually the only disappointing part of this whiskey. I feel like nose palate was amazing, especially for the price point. It's so good, but it kind of tastes a little watered down. I can only imagine how good this would be at like a cast strength version of this. It'd be to die for. And even at this bottling at 46 ABV, it's delicious. But the finish is just very short to short medium, and it just tastes a little watered down. Which during the palate, it didn't taste watered down at all. It tastes creamy. It just doesn't linger as long as I would hope.
I agree.
So I get the same, little bit of lemon oil, even like a little salted almond and marzipan, and then just it goes away, unfortunately. But, yeah, do you agree?
I agree. I mean, with pretty much everything you just said, as far as the notes, there's more lemon candy, lemon oil, marzipan, more of the green apples and pears. I mean, the green apples and pears are there the whole way for me, from the nose to about the finish.
Yeah.
Those light orchard fruits are there. Yeah, the finish is not terribly long. I agree. It's really pleasant while it lasts. It's just not one of those super long, lingering finishes.
I'm surprised because it's not chill filtered and it's a decent ABV. I'm surprised it doesn't linger a lot longer. Cast strength version, watch out.
Yeah.
Please give us a cast strength version. Oh my god.
I guess, in my experience, I find that some of the lighter, sweeter whiskeys like this that are more light fruits, orchard fruits, and things like that don't tend to linger quite as long on the finish as something that's like heavily peated or heavily sherry matured. Something like that tends to last a little longer in a palate, in my experience. I'm sure there are exceptions to that, and I don't know that that's really a good rule to go by, but I've found that often to be true. Yeah.
Do you get anything special on the finish? Sometimes you can get
I think that the flavors come and go so quick. It's hard to pick them out, actually. And it's an array of things. And I mean, again, the sweet cream right at the beginning, and then just right to the peat. And it's the peated smoky notes that are there linger just a little bit, and then it just feels like I just drank some alcohol, but I don't know what it was. I feel it in my mouth.
Yeah. But
it was probably whiskey, but I just knew alcohol was in there.
Yeah.
So you're both correct. There's not much at the finish as it fades off very quickly, and I could just been drinking some moonshine for all I know right there at the end. And there's nothing savory at the end of that.
For sure. Malted Man Cave Marks, what'd you give this out of 100?
I really, really like this, especially for the price. Comparing it to some other similar ages and ABV levels, the first thing that comes to mind is Springbank 10, which is also primarily bourbon matured. There's a little sherry in there, I believe.
This is better.
This is absolutely better, in my opinion. Of course, it's 2 years older, but it's still, to me, it's, and I love Springbank 10. I think Springbank 10 is
very
just a really good, I think it's a great beginner's whiskey.
A great 10-year-old whiskey.
It's absolutely a great 10-year-old whiskey, but I see a lot of people recommend someone who's first getting into whiskey, like a good starter whiskey is like something like Glenlivet, because it's really mild, and it's like, or Glenfiddich, and those are fine whiskeys, and that's what I first started drinking when I was drinking single malts. But I am more of the opinion that when you're introducing someone to whiskey, introduce them to something that you really like. Personally, I stopped liking Glenlivet a long time ago, and I would have never really gotten into whiskey if I hadn't tried more interesting things.
The Nadura's okay. Have you had the Nadura?
No, Glenfiddich and Glenlivet do make some good products, but like the standard 12
their lower core range sucks. Let's call a spade. They suck.
Boring. Yeah, they suck. Okay.
It's not
Anyhow, to me, Springbank 10 is one of the best beginner's whiskey because you get elements of various different regions. I mean, it's clearly Campbelltown, but you've got a little bit of peat in there.
A little sherry.
You've got a little bit of sherry in there. You got a lot of bourbon in there, and one of the things that I've always said about Springbank 10-year-old is if someone asked me what does Scotch taste like, I would pour them a dram of Springbank 10. This is what Scotch tastes like.
You got smoky, you got the sweet, floral, for sure. Yeah.
So anyhow, all that talking about a whiskey that we're not reviewing. Comparing Springbank 10 to Kilkerran, this is like just a step up from that to me. It's not the peat is a little less. Not that Springbank 10 is terribly peated either, but it has some of the similar flavors of Springbank 10, but just better.
Yeah.
And a little more mature and complex, and a little sweeter. I I like this a lot. I think the finish maybe does drag it down a little, so I think I'm gonna give it an 89.
Dang it. I do feel
That's
like
what you're gonna do?
I was gonna say an 89. If the finish was better, it would have been a 90.
Yeah.
Maybe even
That's-
a 91. It's that good.
Yeah.
But I think, to be fair, and because I've had better whiskeys, I think an 89 is a good point for it. Almost a 90.
Yeah.
For sure. Out of 100.
Well, I mean, I do like all the flavor profiles that come with the nose and the taste and palate. I just hate how quickly they finish. You go through all of them so quickly, it's hard to pick them up, and nothing lingers around. It's very pleasant. Even like I said, even the peated, it doesn't linger well afterwards. But it's very drinkable. And like I said, it's a very, very pleasant nose and taste. For drinkability and for this style, I'd give it an 85, only because the finish just isn't there for me.
Touche. But for
Still
how?
a solid.
Yeah.
solid
But very, very, very solid.
For how
Very
much was
drinkable
it?
Scotch.
like 55 or 60.
Oh my
bucks.
gosh.
I'm
For,
out.
for
But
55.
bad luck with chairs.
For 55 bucks.
Cheers
oh
with my
my
beer
God.
though. How about that? There we go.
Will you turn us off for? It's not bad.
Sláinte.
Sláinte.
Lost.